Welcome to the True You podcast. My name is Bill Tierney. I'm a certified IFS practitioner and a compassionate results coach and an author involved in 3 different projects right now. Pretty excited about that. And this is my co-host, my partner, Dr. Martin Kettlehead, who I call Marty. How you doing, Marty?
I'm good. Thanks, Bill.
We have a topic that we discussed, and that's as much as preparation as we have for the topic. We discussed it. You proposed it. I like it. And I want to get into that here in just a minute. But before we do, I want to acknowledge we've had a lot of guests recently. In fact, it's been a long time since it's just been you and I having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's been great to have the guest, I kind of missed being able to just connect with you, your voice and my voice combining for the synchronicity that happens. That's not exactly the word I was looking for, but for what happens when we get into conversation.
I like the word synchronicity.
Yeah. It just wasn't the one I was thinking of.
Uh-huh.
So one of the things that we discussed before I hit record was, do we want to just be kind of casually checking in, since it's been so long since you and I've actually connected on air, recording a podcast about what we're up to these days.
Mm-hmm.
This recording is happening in October of 2025. And so when I throw that out there, Marty, what have you been up to?
Well, it's really I have such an interesting job. I just love it. There's never a dull moment. Right now, what I notice when you say that is that I've got some individuals and some groups, because I do both kind of coaching, that are at a very early stage of business. They're like fresh. They're smart, just graduated, or just formed a company, and they need to grow and get organized and future oriented. And then I also have some people like right in the middle of their careers, that phase where things are plateauing and you wonder what it all means and where it's all going. And then I also have these precious people who are sort of toward the end, and they're transitioning. Like, I'm not going to be here every day, and I got to lead this team, in charge of the business that I built. And so the leadership team is deciding, okay, we're gonna try and get acquired, and meld into some other bigger company. And so they're setting themselves up. So I just noticed how great it is for me. And I would in that context, I would mention, like, I've got great perspective on, beginning, middle, and end of business processes and what it takes and how those processes relate. Like, you can see the people who are just starting who have no vision of the future, or the people who are finishing who didn't set themselves up to finish beautifully. And so I feel particularly valuable to people in business right now, leaders especially, because I've got this perspective and I'm excited about it. And I've started to, relate some of these people. Like, you should talk to him.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he's just getting started, but he's got some perspective you could use, and vice versa. And that brings me so much joy and satisfaction to see, them get connected. And
are they connecting with each other?
They are.
Oh, yeah. How exciting.
Oh, I just like over the moon about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I have space in my book of business. I'm accepting new clients, not a lot of space, but and I'm excited. So that's me.
Well, I'm curious, when you say you're doing groups, how many groups are you doing, and what's the focus of the groups?
One group is a leadership group, and they're all leaders, and they're all talking about their trials and tribulations as leaders. They're all great people, but it's when you step into the role of leading, suddenly there's all these questions about, but what about this? What about, it's part of the reason that the topic for today came up.
Which is, go ahead and name it now that you've said it.
Being passive versus being active, and when it's appropriate to be which.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Um, and the other group that I'm leading is they had an inkling that what they want, how they wanted to, they're growing, they're in the middle. And they liked Gino Wickman's book Traction, and they wanted me to lead them in the EOS process, which I've done kind of informally with individual leaders before. But now I have a team that's going through that whole process thoroughly, just by the letter. And it's very effective, that book. And
Wickman, Traction. He's written a few others around the same idea. EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System.
that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
No, it is. It's
I've used it with some of my clients as well.
and it's a little scary for them because the more aligned around, who we are, what we stand for, the customers that we want to serve, the more it becomes clear, like, who doesn't belong on this team.
Right butt, right seat. That's one of the principles in Traction.
It is, right. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Right butt, right seat.
That's right, exactly. And sometimes it comes to head. There have been 2 people already since I started working with these guys at the beginning of the summer that realized, you know what, I'm not really meant to be on this team.
Yeah. And often
We got clear what this team is really about. And that's going to save a lot of drag on that individual's part as well as the team's part.
and it gives them choice. They get the clarity to choose that rather than to have that done to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
And sometimes also, and Gino writes about this in his book, it's not that they don't belong on the team. It's just they're in the wrong seat in the team.
That's sometimes the case. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I was talking with
but in this case, these 2 people, their seat is in a different company.
Yeah. Or maybe they need to be entrepreneurs or something. One of my clients is in a position where he deals with people that are in the wrong seat, and was telling me about someone who he moved to a different seat, and they're doing so much better there. My daughter is the COO for a company in Boise, and I had the pleasure of being able to shake hands and meet a lot of those people this past Friday when I flew down to visit with her.
Uh-huh.
And just love their culture, by the way. There's F-bombs flying all over the place. But she introduced me to one woman who was really struggling in her position in sales. But they really liked her. So they moved her into the warehouse to manage the warehouse. And she's killing it. She's just doing a great job over there. And so, yeah, that's
great. Yeah, I have a story like that in part 4 of my book, too. A guy who I recommended to a client. They hired him on my recommendation, and he wasn't working out as part of the C-suite. And he had some experience in marketing, but he wasn't working out as a CMO. So, my client came back to me and said, "Why did you recommend this guy?" Anyway, where it ended up is he's now in the analysis department. He loves it. He does great work there. It's just, right people in the right seats.
Well, and there's an element there too that needs to be underscored, and that is he loves it and he's doing well. I'll bet you he didn't love being the CMO.
No, he definitely did.
There's a real correlation between what we love and what we do well.
That's right.
We're willing to take some risks if we love it. We're willing to try new things, to learn new things if we love it, where we can't muster up the motivation and the inspiration to take the risk of learning something new if we're not into it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't love it.
Yeah, sometimes there's an adjustment that makes it, now I fit, now that I can work at home, or now that, we have casual Fridays, I'm okay with it. Right?
Or now that I've been given authority to match responsibility, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Well, you asked a few minutes ago what I'm up to. so much. My I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast just because we've had so many guests and I haven't had an opportunity to mention it. But my wife and I just celebrated 12 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we found ourselves in an interesting experience. We drove to Seattle from Spokane. It's about a 4.5 hour drive. And Kathy's been in Seattle and driven around Seattle a lot more than I have. So she asked if she could be the one driving in town.
Uh-huh.
Well, driving around in Seattle as an out of towner is really quite stressful for both Kathy and I, both me as the passenger and her as the driver. And that tension vibrated outside out of us into each other. And we spent a week in Seattle there to celebrate our 12th anniversary, not liking each other very much. We had a lot of tension between us. And,
Wow.
we found our groove here at home. We both work from home. We work together very well. We've got clear agreements about who does what and when we do it. But over in Seattle, that wasn't the case. And so it wasn't until the day that we were driving back that we were able to address it directly and work it through and talk about what happened and what feelings were hurt and what assumptions were made and what harm had been done and how could we repair it. And once everything that had happened had been acknowledged, then the next thing that there was to do was to talk about, well, what could we do to make sure that this doesn't happen again in the future? Mm-hmm. So we came up with the process and we agreed to it. And this has been, I want to say 6 weeks ago or that once a week, we respond to 6 prompts that we both identified in this conversation on the way home from Seattle. Uh-huh. We journal about that, and then we connect and have a conversation over dinner on Sunday nights.
Nice.
It's been amazing. The first prompt is what's alive inside. And for those that are familiar with nonviolent communication, that's where the influence came for that suggestion. Mm-hmm. Identify what's alive inside and then share that with each other. And we don't limit that just to what's alive inside in regards to our relationship. It's just what's alive inside. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm here to get out and work in the garden, Kathy might say. That's alive inside. Or I'm in the middle of an article that I want to write, and that's what's alive inside for me. Or I'm worried about this thing or that. Mm-hmm. And so anyhow, I don't want to take up the whole episode talking about the 6 different prompts, but it might be a good topic for one of our episodes.
The putting together these questions for couples?
Yeah, I would say these are 6 points of connection for couples. Uh-huh. And what it's done for us is relieved us of the tension. It's reconnected us. And it's not about playing nice with each other because nice is a performance. It's about being real with each other, but in a loving way. And there's nothing more loving, in my opinion, than just naming when things are misaligned so that we can get aligned again as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So that's what's been happening in my relationship with Kathy. And I just am delighted with it that we co-opted this. We built it together. We created it together from a kind of a breakdown we were having. And that's been great. I have a new partner, Rachel Fink Parks, and I have created a program called Elevate, the Alchemy of Coaching in IFS. And it's a training program for established, successful coaches who have heard possibly about IFS and wonder how they might use IFS in coaching and would like to be trained in the IFS model. So that's what we're offering. Right. And we're in the process of building that training. And we have a workshop coming up here soon on October 24th, 2025. If you're listening to this after that date, of course, we've already done that. But the name of the company or of the program is Elevate. And very excited. We've already got people registered for a March 26 cohort. March of 26 is what I meant to say. So that's very exciting. I mentioned that I've got the 3 books going on. The Parts Work guidebook is at the publisher now. My book 1 of my memoir trilogy is also at the publisher. It was going to be a book. Now it's going to be 3 books. And I did self-publish the Compassionate Results Guidebook, and busy kind of marketing that and telling people about it too. And that's a coaching guide for anybody that wants to use IFS to get some results.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of what I'm up to these days. So we ready to shift into your topic?
Well, yeah. Or I wondered if you wanted to talk about the topic that you said we could do some other time. Would you rather do that topic today? These questions for aligning on Sunday evenings.
Why don't we plan this for next week? Why don't we plan about the 6 points of connection for relationships?
Okay. That
I'm
sounds
I'm going to make a note as you maybe explain the premise for the conversation you'd like to have today.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of times these topics come from what's alive in my clients.
Yes.
And the question has come up from several people, about when is it appropriate to accept and let things happen, and when is it time to take action, to do something about it, right? And it's not always obvious. There are some cases where it is obvious, it's time, the ball is right at my feet and the goal is empty, it's time to kick it in the goal. Oh, right. But then there are other times where it's not quite so clear. Do I tell my son that that I think that the way he's dressing is inappropriate, or that it doesn't look good? Or do I let him, he's in high school, or maybe I should let him decide what he wears to school himself and just love him, no matter what, and be passive about that. When another example that came up, just to sort of, put some examples in the spectrum here, I got a gentleman that I'm working with toward the end of the business side of his life. He's used to being the CEO and calling the shots. And now he's spending a lot more time with his wife. And she's like, whoa, this is a two-way street here. You're running this marriage all of a sudden like as if it was your company. And, I want to be your partner, and, I want you to listen, and I want you to be open to my ideas and all this. And he's like, well, gosh, that's not what got me success in business. And he's like, but obviously there are some places where he does need to be in charge, and at home too. But so those are some of the examples that got me thinking about this question. I mean, I think it also comes up in our spiritual lives, and I'll stop with this. There are times when you need to actively get in there, do some work with your parts, attend to them, be active at that, pay attention, provide the need, what's needed, etc. And other times when, you want to just be open and in a sense passive, so that you can pick up on the clues that the abundance of clues that the universe is sending you, right? And not just get into action and do something. Whoa. Take a moment to let it in, and you might get some better clarity about what action to take. So this is the basis of the topic.
Love it. And I just made a few notes of what categories, and you mentioned many of them already, that this could apply to. Of course, it applies to anything and everything. We are beings having a physical experience here on the planet, and we make decisions and we run our own lives, and we do so either passively or actively. So it's going to show up in all of our relationships. And probably the choice about am I passive or active about this comes up in conscious awareness if the relationship is now challenging.
Mhm.
So if we go back to what I was saying about the tension that Kathy and I experienced in Seattle, for example,
Yeah.
both of us went into automaticity while the tension was building between us while we were in Seattle.
Mhm.
That's a real passive approach. Let's just hope things get better. Let's not address this. I had a part of me that was saying this. It's only going to get worse if I say something about this.
Mhm.
If I open my mouth and start speaking about it, the energy behind my tension is anger energy. And I
Yeah.
don't want to hurt her. I don't want to be angry with her. So I'm just going to control this. I'm going to manage it.
Yeah.
In a way, it's passive, at least on the surface, but internally, it's anything but passive. It's very active in there.
I see that.
Another category would be business and career, as you're mentioning, the CEO who's retiring and then goes home and tries to CEO his wife, and it doesn't work very well. So that takes care of both of those categories, or it involves both of those categories.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let me just do what I've always done. Is it Tracy Goss that wrote that book? What got you here won't get you there.
I don't know that book. I
Oh,
know.
you don't know that book? That is so good. I'll look it up here in a minute. But that's the premise of the book. What got you here to this level of success is not going to get you
Right.
success in other areas or beyond in the same area.
I know, by the way, just to insert, I know people, I have a good friend, he doesn't live but a couple blocks from here, he's got both of those going on at once, and like this guy's going through the transition from being at work every day to being at home every day. And this friend of mine who lives down in the central part of Longmont, he's got it going on at the same time. Like at home, he's the breadwinner, he's the lawgiver, he's the one who does all the handiwork, you know. And his wife also works, but at work, he's the softy, he's the peacemaker, he's the ameliorator. He's not the take control guy at work. And so he also brought this topic up. I have a lot of people with this topic going on, but like, who am I? He asked me, am I this guy or am I that guy?
Interesting.
Mhm.
Yes. That is really interesting that he would ask, obviously felt safe enough to have this conversation with you, but be asking that question of himself. Who am I?
Mhm.
Am I the softy that negotiates and mediates, or am I the in control guy that gets things done and
Right.
runs the show?
Yeah.
By the way, it's Marshall Goldsmith that wrote "What Got You Here Won't Get You There."
Uh-huh.
I'll have to look up Tracy Goss now to remember what great book she wrote.
She
And her,
wrote Last Word on Power.
there we go. Thank you. Yeah.
And Einstein said something similar about, the science that got us here, or the mindset. I forget what word he uses. Is not the mindset that, will um, get us beyond here.
Yeah, something like you can't use the tool to fix the problem that the same tool caused. You can't use the brain to resolve the problem that brain
Right.
started
That's
in the first place.
right. Right.
Okay, so then other areas, money and retirement. You mentioned that as well.
Mhm.
When do I just passively allow my money to do whatever it's going to do? And when do I get active and either make changes or just get involved in some way?
Yeah. Right. Right. Mhm.
And then you mentioned spirituality, and just the moment you said spirituality, what popped in my head is personal growth, which is what you and I both are helping our clients to experience, is personal growth.
Mhm.
Those clients that are coming to us would have to fall into the active category. Often, however, what I notice is some clients will come, they've taken action, but once they get here, they want me to be the one taking the action, and to become much more passive,
Mhm.
and that can be problematic.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. But even that moment of considering and opting to jump into coaching, that's full of passivity and activity.
Mm-hmm.
I give myself to the coach. There's a passivity required of that. Yeah, at the same time, you're the action partner in this relationship. The coach isn't going to go out there and make those phone calls for you.
Right. Yes. Yes.
There's a surrendering that's very key to being coached.
This reminds me so much of my early days of personal development when I was learning about surrender um, through the 12-step programs, which is the third step. Made a decision to turn my will and life over to the care of God as I understand him or it or them. Boy, such a difficult thing for me at 27 years old to even consider that I might surrender. I had survived for the first 27 years of my life by giving it everything I had. And now to have it suggested that the solution was going to come about in some form of surrender, I would have none of it. I mean, I tried to perform it, but in terms of integrating it from my gut and from my heart, I don't think I was even capable of it. That level of letting go.
And now that we're talking about it, I'm thinking you're writing. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, that there's this amalgamation of surrender and activity in the act of writing.
Mm-hmm. Say more about that.
Well, you do have to be open to the flow. Like where is the topic leading you? Where are what words look and sound better together? What does the audience need? Like there's all these energies to surrender to, and at the same time, you're actively creating something, a document or a piece that you're writing that takes you're the agent that's making it happen.
Yeah, and sometimes it feels like I'm the agent. Sometimes it just feels like I'm the machine that is plugged in to that flow, to that channel.
Right. A lot of books and seminars are, you know, uh, uh, openly channeled. That this isn't me. This is channeled.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and I suppose right next to that, and very similar, if not the same, is stream of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of, do I trust that which I'm conscious of enough to follow that stream?
Mm-hmm.
Here's an example of what we're talking about right now. I got a little stuck in. I've begun now book 2 of my memoir trilogy, and I've got maybe, I don't know, 90% of that written already too. But now it's a matter of going through and sewing it all together and making sure things fit and filling in some gaps where I got a little fidgety around some shame that got triggered for me as I'm writing about some of the things that happened during this period of my life.
Mm.
And I kept coming at the experience of getting through and doing that writing. And every single time I came up against some internal resistance to doing it. Fear of writing about the things I might be ashamed of and having someone else read it. And then another one was fear that someone that I was writing about that I had the experience with in my life may not want me to talk about this.
Right.
So, and yet the urge to write was there. And the frustration of not being able to address this was also there.
Mm.
So something happened. I had the thought, I can write something for part 3, for book 3. And what would I write about? I'd write about my experience with Byron Katie when I was first introduced to the work of Byron Katie, and how exciting that was for me, and how once I learned it well enough, I was showing other people how to do it. And so I wrote this fun piece on a conversation where I meet a new guy that's new to Byron Katie, but who's really suffering and so needs the help. And yet he's so defensive and resistant to the process. And I pumped out about 7 pages in 30 minutes. And it was fun. I mean, I couldn't keep up with the memory and the inspiration for how to write about that memory well enough.
Uh-huh.
And then I was able to go back into book 2 and get past and through some stuff that I had been stuck on before. So in a way, this idea of passive and active in that example that I just gave, there was a little bit of a surrender, like, okay, I'm stuck. Stop pushing. I'm gonna stop trying to make myself do something that seems to be too difficult to do right now.
Yes.
And I'm going to go away and do something that feels good and feels right and that's easy to do. And when I did that, it opened up something inside of me. Maybe all it did was created more capacity so that I could be with that shame and not have it feel so intimidating, so threatening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting as you're talking now. I'm getting less clear, honestly, about when passive is appropriate, when active is appropriate. I'm thinking now I'm on natural examples. Like I'm thinking about, like the seaweed in the ocean, goes with the flow. It's attached to, well, some plants are attached to the bottom. Seaweed has actually, well, some of it is anyway. The point is, there's
Fun to watch your mind.
strength in flexibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be a bit passive in life sometimes and go with it. But then, I'm also thinking of, plants that grow out of a crack in a rock, and it breaks the rock open. Look at the Colorado River. It, it's carved the Grand Canyon. Like imagine the water, how soft and supple and non-violent, to use
Yeah. Yeah.
is, yet it carved the huge valley of the Grand Canyon. So, or so I'm thinking that there is a wisdom that we want to tap into here, though, about which is what defines when to be passive and when to be active.
Yeah. And I don't know that it can be formulaic because I think that it's determined by an inner wisdom
Mm-hmm.
that taps into when that's appropriate and when it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than in these situations you want to be active and in these situations you want to be passive. I don't know that it can be black and white like that.
Well, then let's talk about how you tap into that inner wisdom.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to lead. Maybe we have to, but I don't. My first impulse is not to leave our audience with what? You're not going to tell us when to do what?
I kind of like the idea of leaving them with the question for themselves to wrestle with. Seriously. I mean, these are some important questions that I believe that we all are responsible for determining for ourselves anyhow, so that no matter what we say, even if you and I agree that we've found something we can conclude and agree to,
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that the listener would, if they feel unsettled, unresolved about whatever we might conclude, that they would continue to pursue this for themselves if they find it interesting.
Yeah. Well, the one clue that I'm sort of noodling on is from the Serenity Prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I mean, if you can't change them, then why, it doesn't do much good to get active about trying to change something you can't. That's just going to make you frustrated. And the courage to change the things I can, that suggests to me, like, look and see, like, is it a matter of courage? Because right, if it's just a matter of showing off or causing trouble or just blowing off steam, right? If it's just active for the sake of itself, rather than, oh, this is an area where I could grow. If I had courage here, I could step into a bigger me. So those are some hints, like, is it something that you can't change? Then it would make sense to let it be and be more passive. And if it's just a matter of there's a fear there to attend to, and but then step into your true power and courageously move into a space you haven't been before. Okay, well then activity seems appropriate.
Yes. Well, yes. Although I'm thinking of an instance where courage may point towards passivity too.
Yes.
And I'm thinking of addiction and those that are affected by addiction, people that love people that are in addictions,
Mm-hmm.
who,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, are probably in their own addiction. So an example of this would be uh, let's just say the partner of someone that is deeply into an addiction process, so deeply that they don't consciously acknowledge that they're there, that they don't see the negative consequences of their addictive process that the people that are around them are affected by can see.
Yeah.
So typically what happens with addictive process like this is that those people that are affected by it will do everything that they can to try to get that person to change.
Yes.
Stop doing your addictive process.
Yeah.
Hurting yourself, and it's hurting me, and I'm scared. I'm worried that you're going to hurt yourself more, and that you're going to be on the street or whatever that might be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that this is a great example of powerlessness, what we don't have power to change. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Well, you can't change other people and the choices that they make and the things that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems like an impossible puzzle to solve. There's clearly a problem. We have the person with the addictive process that's hurting themselves and others. And then there's the person that loves them and then thinks that it's their responsibility somehow to get them to change. Because if they don't, then what does that mean about them? That they don't love them. And so in Al-Anon, that's the focus. The Al-Anon program, the accompanying program to Alcoholics Anonymous and so many of these others, is for people that are affected by the alcoholic. And the biggest challenge for them is for the Al-Anon, and I went to Al-Anon for 7 years, and found that the biggest problem for me with through that lens was letting go of the person that I really wish would change, and allowing them to be on their own path. And I just recently had a client who was realizing all that they were doing to try to manage and control their loved one, and how it always backfired. The loved one didn't want the help and saw it as interference and controlling, and pushed back hard. And this person found themselves in a situation where they just actually couldn't even contact their loved one to know what to do next or how to help them.
Yeah.
And found out later that they had found their way to treatment, and hopefully to a solution. So a forced letting go resulted possibly in their loved one who was involved in the addictive process finding their own solution. It's tricky.
Yeah. 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 Well, I like this theme. I think it's very interesting that sometimes like we talk about active listening, for example, where yes, you're not doing anything, but you're actively paying attention. And you could say, like in your example, that spouse was actively loving that person by not telling them what to do. So then we get into all these shades of it's not that everything either fits in one bucket or the other, passive or active, but sometimes the action is a non-action. But it's not without agency. It's not without impact. It's not without effect, right? And so there is pure passivity, and then there's I'm here, I love you, and I'm not doing anything about your problem, right? But I'm here and I'm paying attention, and I'm hope I'm here to support, right?
Well, and I'm here to have a good life myself.
Mm-hmm.
I see that you have a problem, or at least it's my perception that you have a problem. But what I can know for sure is that I have a problem.
I noticed when my mom first started to go in Al-Anon was when she first started doing her own stuff. Like she started signing up for, extracurricular or ongoing community education. She started to get involved with this women's group. She got a second job tutoring Japanese wives of corporate executives. And before that, she was just home fretting about my dad.
Right.
And then she went to Al-Anon and started to get a life
Yes.
of her own. So
Yeah.
not attacking my dad or trying to change my dad, but just like you said, having her own great life.
Well, if I could indulge a little bit and get into my own personal history, I did get sober in November of 1982. And it would be easy to say that Alcoholics Anonymous got me sober because that's where I went starting that very first day of sobriety and continued to go there for 35 years after that. But what would be more accurate would be to say that Al-Anon got me sober.
Mm.
And the reason I say that is because my wife was going to Al-Anon 2 months before I finally decided I better go to a meeting because apparently she thinks I've got a problem.
Mm.
And when I went, I didn't go because I thought I had a problem. Certainly not with alcohol. I thought I had a problem with my wife because she was starting to act independently. And I had been so insecure in that relationship that the way to hang on to the relationship for me was to do the only thing I knew to do, which was to try to control her. And when she started going to Al-Anon, it really ruffled my feathers. Oh, I'm losing her. And she did many of the same things. She found her own friends. She got a job. She invited people over to our house, whether I liked it or not. And I didn't like it because they were involved in the 12-step too. She was the woman was in Al-Anon. The man was in AA. I just felt like I was the foreigner in my own home. It got really, really uncomfortable for me, but nobody was doing anything to me.
Right.
They were letting me smoke my cigarettes, drink my beer, stay at the bar after work, be drunk all the time. They were just letting me do it. But my wife was taking care of herself for the first time because she was being taught how to do that and being supported in doing it. So yeah, I got to give props to Al-Anon for helping me get sober. If I hadn't gotten uncomfortable enough from my wife detaching from the dance that we'd been doing, I probably never would have been willing to go to a meeting to get sober. So I got passive. I guess I was passive. No, I don't know. I got active. I went to my first meeting, and it was a complete manipulation, not in the least bit interested in sobriety, getting sober, because I didn't have a problem. The problem I was trying to solve was trying to get my wife to like me again. Even if it meant I had to pretend like I was interested in sobriety for a while. And it tricked me. I tricked myself into sobriety.
But it stuck.
But only, not so far. It's only been 42 years. So we'll see.
I'd say it's stuck.
Yeah. And what a great start. Every day of sobriety was a great start to having an opportunity to actually get some choice, have some agency, and choose the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So sobriety, great, wonderful. Baseline, that felt almost impossible at first. And I was under the impression for the longest time that sobriety was as much as you could hope for, and that life would only get better if sobriety lasted more days in a row. And to a degree, that's true. But after maybe the first 30 to 60 days or so, maybe the first 6 months, a lot of the wiring's been repaired. A lot of the internal, like biological damage has been healed and done.
Yeah.
Now what needs to be developed is the ability to live life connected to other human beings rather than being opposed to them.
I'm so glad you said that, because what I've been sort of mulling over the last 5 minutes is maybe the key to seeing whether action or acceptance passiveness is appropriate is what serves the connection.
Yeah.
What serves the connection? Like it served it, it served them, it served my mom to not be codependent, weak, but to get in action in her life that had her be a better partner to my dad. Right? It's like in music, if you just play louder than everybody else in the ensemble, you have to listen and blend
Yes.
for this ensemble to have strength. So if we're going for like in this connection, do I need to allow or do I need to assert, right? In this moment, in this connection, what is most appropriate? And it's going to change, right? And so I like that. I'm not saying this is the answer. I hit on the truth that will last forever, but it so kept coming at me when you were talking, and then you finally said the word that I think there's something really to notice there about why it varies when it does. It's in whatever the connection, the relationship, the partnership, the team, there's a time to give and a time to take.
I think you're really onto something here. I don't think it's limited just to connection. I think it's alignment with the qualities that show up when we're being our authentic selves and tapped into that flow.
Yeah.
And IFS has I earmarked some words for that because they're easy to remember. They're all C words, and then there's a set of 5 P words. So what if those could also be used to determine when to assert and when to be passive? Like, what is in the greatest support of alignment with compassion, for example?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to support? You mentioned connection, clarity. What's going to support clarity?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to support calm, courage, curiosity, creativity, confidence, and the 9th C, choice, where everybody has choice, where everybody feels safe enough to be curious.
Right.
And then those 5 P words, perspective. When I've got perspective, is that helped by passivity or being assertive or active right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Presence, patience, persistence, playfulness.
Mm-hmm.
And then this isn't a P word. The closest P word to it is permission, but it's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
What is in the service of freedom for me and those around me?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. I better take some action because we seem to be losing our freedom.
Yeah.
Or I need to do hands off because I've got my personal interest involved here and it's taking somebody else's freedom away.
I just want to acknowledge, I know we're going to have to close soon, that this is something we could all take a good look at right now in our changing society, where what's called for is getting in action and where what's called for is letting it be.
Right. Knowing when to be in action and what that action needs to look like.
Yeah. Just, as you were talking, I'm thinking like, wow, this is really a timely topic because we're not exactly just in a plateaued state as a nation. We got some real work to do.
Yes, we do. Okay, we do need to close. What a great conversation. And I've noted that next week we're going to be talking about those 6 points of communication between couples, but also between 2 individuals.
Sure, a corporate team,
Right. Okay, Marty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Till next week. We appreciate who you are, that you would be listening to this podcast, and want to acknowledge all those parts of you that yearn for the experience of the true you.
If you like this episode, click like, share it with others, and be sure to subscribe. Listen again next week for the newest episode.
Check show notes for a transcript and a link to resources, including a link to let us know if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast.
Thank you for listening and going on this journey with us back to the true you.